When Zootopia first released, all the way back in November of 2025, I can't say I was particularly excited for it, nor did I go to the cinemas to watch it. As when I first saw the promotion for this sequel, I believed it would be another cash grab for Disney, riding off the success and love of the first one. So imagine my surprise when I found out it has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. That is the same score as K-pop Demon Hunters, which literally shook the internet. So that left me with really only one choice, and that was to watch it and judge it for myself.
A few moments later.
Why are you helping us?
You two saved the city once. I reckon you can save it again.
He was so serious a second ago. Anyway, moving on, I actually didn't mind the movie in the end, and can understand why it got as much praise as it did, as overall it was fun, lighthearted, and an enjoyable watch. However, that's not to say it was without problems. I found it to be highly predictable and almost very similar in storyline to the first one. But before we go more into that, let's do a quick summary for the people that have a life outside of movies or simply haven't watched it. Nick and Judy find themselves on the outs of the police department after a failed raid attempt that threatens their partnership. To fix the problem, Chief Bogo places them in therapy. However, Judy, wanting to prove that she and Nick can work together, decides to investigate snakeskin that she found during the raid, as no one else will since reptiles haven't been spotted in the city in years. Her investigation leads her to the gala, hosted by Milton Linksley, the grandson of the founder of Zootopia. She ends up meeting Paulbert Linksley, the black sheep of the family. However, in the midst of celebration, the snake appears and kidnaps Milton to steal a journal, which contains information on the weather walls that control the different climates in the city. Long story short, the snake escapes with an unknown individual, and Nick and Judy become fugitives, having been framed for the murder of Chief Bogo, who got bitten in the chaos. With a little help from Mr. Big, Nick and Judy leave to uncover the truth behind this event by seeking the help from a beaver who is a reptile conspirator named Nibbles. She leads them to the Marsh Market, a place where reptiles live in hiding. They meet up with a basilisk named Jesus, who tells them how Tundra Town used to be a home for reptiles before it became an Arctic zone. Gary suddenly appears and takes back the journal, leading to a chase with Chief Hogbottom closely behind them. Nick and Judy escape through a water tunnel, but not unscathed, as their relationship reaches a breaking point. Nevertheless, they continue on, finding an old log cabin up the mountain, which reveals proof of Zootopia's old reptile population. They are once again found by the Zootopia Police Department, leading to Nick's arrest. Judy is helped by the snake named Gary and the mysterious helper uncovered to be Paul. It's revealed that Gary's great-grandmother, Agnes, was the true founder of Zootopia and the owner of the journal. However, her investor, Ebenezer Linksley, stole her idea and framed Agnes for the murder of his maid. Back to Nick, who finds himself in prison alongside Nibbles. Together they escape and get the help from Flash 100 Mile Dash to catch up to Judy, who is now on a mission to find the original patent, believed to be buried in the old reptile district. To find it, they light up an old clock tower within the old district. However, Paul betrays them. Nick is able to save Judy from the venom, however, causing him and Paul to fall from the weather wall. But since this is a family-friendly movie, Judy and Gary save him in time. After both of their near-death experiences, they confess their worries and feelings, rekindling their partnership. They are able to find the original patent in Agnes's old home. Paul tries one last time to destroy it, however is stopped by Hogbottom, realizing the true villain. And Nick and Judy have once again saved the city. Now, much like the ratings reflect, there is a lot to like about this movie, like its new characters, particularly Nibbles, who I found surpassed my expectations, as characters like this usually go into the know-it-all, snobby type, but they didn't do that with her. She's actually quite a down-to-earth character that allows her to keep positive in many situations, without being overly optimistic and naive to her surroundings. And she does this while still being quite a humorous character. One of my favourite parts of her is when Nick and Judy pretty much just leave her to die from venom, and she comes back from being saved by Gary and is like, I'm alive.
Now that is what we call an overshare. I'm alive, by the way.
I mean, how can you not love her? She's such a breath of fresh air to other character stereotypes that have been overdone so much. And the other characters are pretty good too, particularly Gary, as rather than having a cunning and deceitful nature that is commonly used for like the ideas around snakes, Gary is the opposite. He's loving, kind, and a bit naive at times, but it all adds to his overall charm. And his strong devotion to his family really makes you root for him throughout the movie. He also has a bit of goofiness to him, like his name being Gary the Snake, that I think adds another layer to him that also separates him from the rest of the characters. On the other end, you got the Langston family that is greedy and willing to kill to get what they want. And although they work overall as a villain or antagonist to the story, I don't feel like they were the greatest villain there could have been. Milton definitely carried these two divas. I mean, he's literally holding a piece of wool here, which I get, he's a cat, but I feel it doesn't convey the level of threat they're supposed to be. I think the best show of villainy with this family is through Paul, when he's limping through the maze, being chased by Nick and Judy, looking like an absolute crazed man. And then there's the mayor, Wind Dancer, who works with the Langston family, but then betrays them and helps Nick and Judy. And he's alright, I don't think he's anything too special though. I think the only reason I liked him was because of the voice actor being that of Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, which I adore.
Chief Bogo is dead.
But I do think they were very clever with the character of Jesus, as if you didn't know, Jesus is a green basilisk lizard, also known as a Jesus Christ lizard, for its ability to run on water, creating that humorous scene where he runs across the water after giving Nick and Judy that beautiful pep talk. All in all, most of the new characters are pretty well done, and I think this has to do with just how stacked the cast is. Like, of course, you've got the well-known actors of Nick and Judy. Like, you've got Danny Trejo playing Jesus, Andy Samberg playing Paul. They got the guy from Home Alone playing one of the Langston members. And then, of course, all these cameos. You got Ed Sheeran, Shakira, of course. And you got Robert Irwin bringing some Aussie love. This movie seems more like a 100th anniversary movie than Wish ever did. I mean, it has so many different references to other movies too. You've got Ratatouille, Tangled, The Shining, Silence of the Lambs, and so much more. But I think the best thing this movie did right is its beautiful animation style. I think one of my favourite scenes of the movie is when they find the old reptile district, which has been encased in ice, and Judy lights these lanterns that illuminate the whole cave, creating such a beautiful shot. Or even in the Marsh Market, where it's such a vibrant green. And I love that we were able to see more of these different districts within with Zootopia, and how they cater to the different species. Unfortunately, all these things I enjoy about the movie I found were overshadowed by the issues I had with the storyline. Like with Paul being the twist villain felt too predictable. Like as soon as he was introduced to the screen, I knew he wasn't a good guy. Or when Nibbles grabs the mop in jail, you know she's gonna make a key out of it for them to escape. The entire movie, from start to finish, is extremely predictable. And there's never a real feeling of suspense or fear for Nick and Judy. And I do think part of this has to do with the Langston family being quite a weak villain for a movie. I feel like they don't present as a real threat, and rather as just greedy rich guys. And although that can work as a villain, I don't think it works quite as well in this case. And I think one of the reasons this is because they never get their own hands dirty and rather rely on the Zootopia police department to do their dirty work. And this creates a weird situation, as we know the police department and we know these people, and Nick and Judy know these people, so you never really feel like their lives are at risk. I feel it would have made more sense if they had henchmen follow in the shadows to ensure the job got done, while using the Zootopia Police Department as a front for continuing their persona that they are the innocent victims. This way, when Captain Hogbottom also helps Nick and Judy, I feel it would make more sense, as in the movie it feels quite sudden and unjustified. They can even have it that Nick knows about these henchmen, giving more of a reason as to why he so desperately wants to just hide, rather than help Judy solve the mystery. They could even relate this back to him knowing this information due to his previous work as a con artist. In doing this, they would not only have the villain be more as a threat, but would also give Nick a bigger role in the movie, considering he is one of the main characters, which you wouldn't really know with how little he does in this movie. Which leads me to the biggest problem I have with Zootopia 2, the characters of Nick and Judy. Apart from them pretty much dumbing down Nick's character, Judy completely regresses from the growth she is supposed to have gained in the first movie, and she is borderline insufferable with the way she treats Nick. I mean, he literally saves her from drowning, and instead of thanking him, she expects him to apologize. If someone did that to me after saving their life, I would literally lose it. For like half the movie, he goes along with what she wants, and the one time he's really concerned for their lives, she brushes him off like he's the bad guy. Not to mention, when he does go to jail, she does nothing about it. Instead, she just continues to try and solve the case. And while in the first movie this feels necessary for her to prove herself for being the first bunny cop, in this one it comes off as just arrogance. Especially because she has already experienced what consequences can come from her recklessness. Like when she calls all predators a danger to society, or when she almost gets herself and Nick killed to gather evidence. A mistake she also does in Zootopia 2. I understand that part of it is their dynamic, but there comes a point when it turns to frustration, as it means there isn't any wait for moments when they recognize their mistakes. That's the first problem I have. Second is, what the hell did they do to Nick? His whole character feels more like a tool for jokes rather than to contribute to the plot in any way. I mean, the only time he really does anything is when he's at it with Paul for the anti-venom. Like, if I remember correctly, he should know a lot of the ins and outs of the city. However, you're telling me he's never heard a rumor of reptiles being smuggled in? I just wish they used his character's knowledge and abilities a bit more, rather than them always having to rely on others for help, as it feels like he doesn't even need to be there for the plot to continue. So with all that being said, Zootopia 2 isn't necessarily a bad movie, but I wouldn't say it's one of the greats either. But I don't know, what were your thoughts on the movie?